Hello everyone! Dear students, today we will be reading a poem, Mystery of the Talking Fan, written by Maude Rubin. This poem is part of chapter 6 from our book Honeycomb. The poem that we are going to read today, Mystery of the Talking Fan, beautifully captures the moment of the much familiar object, a fan, a ceiling fan. Ceiling fan is a mechanical fan mounted on the ceiling of a room. So before we start, let me ask you something. Is there a ceiling fan in the room where you are sitting now? Is the fan quiet or noisy? If it is noisy, you may be sure it is a distant relative of the talking fan in the poem which you are going to read. Well, I'm not sure any one of us is using a fan right now, but we are going to read the poem, nevertheless. If you have a ceiling fan that is noisy, be sure that it is a distant relative. Distant means far or remote. Be sure that it is a distant relative of the talking fan from our poem. Mystery of the talking fan. Once there was a talking fan, electrical his chatter. I couldn't quite hear what he said, and I hope it doesn't matter. Because one day somebody oiled his little whirling motor, and all the mystery was spoiled. He ran as still as water. The poem is written by Maude Rubin. The fan from our poem is very noisy. It makes a lot of noise. The poet calls the fan's noise an electrical chatter. Electrical means concerned with electricity, operating by electricity or producing electricity. Chatter means chat or talk. The poet calls the fan's noise an electrical chatter. The poet says, I couldn't quite hear what he said, and I hope it doesn't matter. The author couldn't hear. He couldn't hear or he couldn't understand. The poet is unable to comprehend what exactly the fan is trying to say. And he says, I hope it doesn't matter, because one day somebody, we don't know who, it is not a poet, maybe an electrician or someone, somebody oiled his little whirling motor. To oil means to grease or to coat with oil. Somebody oiled his little whirling motor. Whirling means rotating. Some movements, round and round, rapid movements. After somebody oiled it up, all the mystery was spoiled. Spoiled means damaged or ruined, destroyed. It was gone. Mystery because the author didn't know, he couldn't hear what the fan was saying. That is why he says all the mystery. All this mystery was spoiled because somebody oiled his motor. And after that, he ran as still as water. The author says he ran as still as water. The phrase to run as still as water means to function smoothly. Still means calm or smooth. He ran as still as water. So one day the motor of the fan was oiled up by someone, and after that the movement of the fan became smooth and silent. Ever since it was oiled up, it functioned in such a smooth manner that no noise could be heard. The talking fan fell silent. He ran as still as water. In the poem Mystery of the Talking Fan, the author uses few poetic devices. First of all, we know that poems are written in lines or verses. This is a line. A group of lines is called a stanza. We also know that these lines don't have to be a complete sentences. One whole poem can be one sentence. Some poems have rhyming scheme and some don't. Many poems include a rhyme scheme. This means when the author decides to end each line or every alternate line with words that sound similar, words that rhyme, such as chatter, matter, or oiled, spoiled. The author uses sensory words to paint a picture for the reader. That means imagery. Imagery means using very rich descriptions while writing. Imagery helps the reader create a mental image of what is being read. So authors use imagery in order to appeal to the senses, 5 senses of a reader, and to help them really understand the writing. The author uses several descriptive words or sounds to describe something. So poets use certain figures of speech, and one of them is personification. The poem that we are going to read today is a good example of personification. The poem opens up with personification. In the very first line, once there was a talking fan, the fan is personified. Here the poet compares the continuous noise made by the fan to talking. Talking fan. This is personification. Personification is one of the figures of speech in which human emotions are attached to inanimate objects. In other words, natural and artificial objects are treated as living beings. For example, we could say, the wind was whistling, or sun is smiling, or the stars winked at me. Personification means giving human characteristics to non-human things. Personification can be a good way to evoke strong imaginative scenery, imagery. In our poem, there is a talking fan, personification, and also he. The poet has personified the fan by calling it he said, or he ran. The fan has been given the attributes of living being, such as the ability to chatter, to talk. Dear students, I hope you like the poem. Before we go, one note about Spoonerism. When you want to say a well-oiled bicycle and actually say a well-boiled icicle, that means you have spoken a Spoonerism. Spoonerism means sometimes when we are talking, our mouth moves faster than our brain and we get mixed up. we mix up the beginning parts of a couple of words. This is called Spoonerism. Spoonerism happens when sounds in a phrase get switched to make something funny, such as well-oiled bicycle. Instead of well-oiled bicycle, we might say well-boiled icicle. Or instead of take a shower, we might say shake a tower. Or instead of a bottle in front of me, we might say a frontal lobotomy. These are called Spoonerism. Dear students, this is all for today. See you soon.